I love using vellum on my cards. And many years ago, when I started card making, that's how I started. We have a very specific kind of vellum cards that we make in Brazil, and that's where I learned first. Today, I'll show you a bit of my passion on how to incorporate vellum in your cards. I'll start very easy and I'll build up. Stay with me. The cards look very elegant at the end. Here I have two different kinds of vellum. This one, the first one, is from Simon Says Them, and this one I bought in Brazil. It's very heavyweight. There is a slight difference in color. The Brazilian one is a bit more, it has a hint of yellow, I would say, and the Simon Says one, it's very white. Both of them can be used for what we're gonna do. For the first idea, you do need more of a heavyweight kind of vellum. For the other ones, you could use specialty vellum. And here I have some kinds. The first one is kind of a pearl, yellowish pearl vellum. The second one is silver, and this one has an iridescent sheen. The third one is the only one that I can link, and it's from Long Fun. Now, one thing that maybe you never thought of doing is to add color to your vellum. I'm using a gold pigment ink and I'm swiping it all over my vellum. I did cut it previously to a card base size, and my ink pad is a bit dry. I will re-ink it later, but I do advise you to do it before you do this. And this is one way to add color. You could use dye inks, but because it's water-based, your vellum will curl up and it's not going to lie flat. But for the next step, it wouldn't be a problem. The second way that I add interest is by adding glitter. I have this glitter spray that is gold as well. You know me, everything I like is gold in color. I don't really use other metallic colors. And it's very subtle here on the camera, but in real life you can see this one very, very well. It ends up that the pigment ink is the one that is subtle at the end. Now I'm going to use this 3D embossing folder. You could use any from Spellbinders. Because of the size that they come, you can actually emboss an entire card base in one go. But if you have a smaller embossing folder that you like to use, you can use it as an overlay and use it only at the front of your card and glue it on the top of a card base that is made out of regular cardstock. Embossed vellum card base looks awesome, you guys. It looks just so cool. To fold the center, I just do it with my fingers. I don't use a bond folder because I don't want to chance flattening any of that detail. But it looks so, so pretty. Here you can see the difference in color. The one that is more yellow now, it's actually the one that we use, the gold ink. I'm just gonna cut 4 different panels. You can use some nice shapes if you have them. This one, I think it looks very cute. Or you can just cut with your paper trimmer some rectangles. You just need 4 to add them to both sides of your vellum and hide the adhesive. I am using white glue, but I use like as little as I possibly can because the white glue is water-based. Everything that is water-based will warp your vellum, and I don't want to lose the details. I'll glue one to the outside, then because it's translucent and you can see through, you can glue the one on the inside. Then I add glue, place it on top of the second panel and pick it up with the back of my card base and then glue the 4th one in the back. While I wait for it to dry, I usually put some weight on top. I don't always show it on screen, but then I'll prepare the elements that I want to glue. I'm using poinsettias today for all my cards. I'm also using the same color palette for all of them. I made the poinsettias kind of peach coral color shades from darkest to lightest or lightest to darkest. I do alternate the position of the darkest and the lightest colors, shades. This one is from Altenew. It's a die set from Altenew and I love it. It's so gorgeous. But I should have measured it before I put it together because it turned out to be way too big for my regular card size. So I just glued it on top The tips are kind of going over the edges. I don't mind, but I adjusted it for the second one. All you really need is one element, just like the previous video. You need a focal image or an element. If you don't work with dyes that much, you could just color a cute stamp and add it, and then a sentiment, and that's it. Your card is done. It's very quick and easy. You still have time to do those last minute cards for Christmas or for the holidays. As I said to you, I've been trying to use more sentiments in Portuguese. This one says Happy Holidays, and I'm adding some gold pearls to the center of my poinsettia. I kind of wish it was smaller. Maybe if I had skipped the first layer, it would have been a better size, but it works. This one, I glued the other 3 panels already. I started from the back, and I'm just adding some more of that gold ink to the edges, and that will bring the details even more prominently. It will make them more visible. I didn't really add to the center because I'm gluing this panel to the center. This one I added gold watercolor to the borders, but I didn't do the same for the other panels. Just gonna glue it down, and then I'm gonna add my sentiments. I used 3 smaller poinsettias for this one, and I added some leaves. I know poinsettias are mostly just leaves, but I added like the poo color ones to work as leaves, and the same gold pearls to the center. For both sentiments, I used my alphabet die sets and I made my own sentiments. But you can use whatever you have in your stash, whatever you like, whatever is your preference. They both look very, very cute in the end. I love the glitter, the shimmer, and also the effect that the vellum has when you emboss it. It looks very different. If you've never tried it before, please do, and I guarantee you're gonna love it. Now for my second idea, we're gonna use a vellum window. I'm going to use a die. The die cuts a very thin frame to die cut a rectangle from the center of this panel. This is a pearl white cardstock. I'm gonna measure the size of that opening, and I'm going to cut a piece of vellum, that iridescent one from L'Enfant, that is slightly bigger than my opening. I'm going to glue it to the back of that frame that I made. And I forgot to mention that this is going to be a 5x7 card, so that frame is 5x7. I am not giving you measurements for the panels because they depend on how much border you want, how much border you like. I did off screen die cut another border just out of regular white cardstock. I'm going to need them to assemble the card the way I want it. It's going to be kind of a threefold card, and I'm going to add glue with my fine nozzle all around the inside of that border to add my vellum panel to it. Just want to take a minute to thank you once again for following me on YouTube, for watching my videos, and I want to tell you that I have a few things coming up in the next couple of days, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to post again, but I will be back. My next video, I already have it planned, and I'm gonna make some white on white cards. Going back to our card, now we need, for the card base, I just cut it at 7 inches on the shorter side, and I kept the length as long as I had it. I am scoring it at 5 inches, and then do it as I say. Don't do it as I did because I messed this up. You're gonna want to fold it right after the edge of the 5-inch fold that you created, and then fold it again and burnish it. This piece, this tab, this shorter tab that you have left, you can cut it down to be shorter than your frame, than the sides of your frame, because this is the hinge that you're gonna glue and make it one piece, and just adjust it to however wide your border is. Now all you have to do is add glue to that tab and glue it to the frame, and you have your threefold card. Since I didn't follow my own advice, I did it wrong. I am going to have to trim a little bit of that inner flap, the big one, the long one, because it is like way longer than the rest of the card. But just check yours when you fold it. If you see that it's not folding flat, you might need to trim it a little bit. Now I just need to glue that other white frame on the inside just to make it smooth and continuous and to make it more seamless and finished. I also had to trim just a hair off my inner frame because it wouldn't sit lined up and flat if I hadn't done that. Just check yours before you glue it down. As I said, I always check everything. I quite often edit it out of the video, but I'm constantly checking things before I glue them down. Once you have this all done, all that's left now is decorating your card. You can decorate however you want it, and you have that see-through element. I am going to add a gold frame on the outside, that very thin gold frame that I used the same die to cut my window from. And I'm adding also a teal, kind of more medium tone teal shade panel on the inside behind the window, just because I felt like it was too white and I wanted a little hint of color. The Vellum will tone down that shade, but you can still see a little bit of it. If you want it darker, you can always choose a darker shade of the cardstock that you're going to use. To be very honest with you, I was going to do something to this window. I was going to add some detail to the window and I completely forgot and I glued it down. I am going to do that on our last card. But keep in mind that you could also add some detail to it. I'll show you the completed card at the end, but again, I just added a few poinsettias and a sentiment in gold. And that was it. For this one, I'm starting with a gold frame. If you have an ornate frame, such as this one, that would be perfect. If you don't, you could just use 2 nesting dies in any shape, and that will give you a thin frame that you could also use instead. It doesn't really matter if it's ornate or not. I just find that ornate makes the card look more elegant, but we're going to decorate it anyway, so it will look cute no matter what. Off screen, I die cut 2 more of those frames and I glued them together out of white. I am going to glue them to the back of my gold frame just to make it sturdier, to make it stronger, put some weights on top. Let it dry. While it dries, I can actually, as always, assemble my other elements that I need. For this one, I'm using the tiniest poinsettias that I could find. And then I'm going to take that frame, use a paper piercer, and mark where I need to cut my vellum piece. I need to cut it slightly bigger so I can glue it to the back of that frame. Here are the dots that I made with my paper piercer. I'm using them as a reference to cut right along the oval shape with my scissors. If you have layering dies or nesting dies, you can just choose one that is a size or bigger and that should work fine. Because I didn't have one, that was the easiest way I found to do it. I'm going to run that oval vellum shape through my die cutting machine with this dotted plate that's gonna add some detail to it. I've done this before in another video. If you want to see more of this in detail, I will link the video down below. I do recommend you watching it. There's some really good stuff. And then I'm showing here on screen, once you run it through, you're gonna have a smooth side and a rough side. We need the rough side to emboss this element. To do that, I'm using an empty pen and a stylus that has 2 different sizes. The smaller areas, I'm going to use my empty pen because it's more detailed. And then the bigger areas, I'll change the size accordingly. If you want, this is really sped up because I did explain it in detail on my other video. There is linked down below in case you want to watch it. It is one of my favorite videos, just saying, no pressure. But you can slow it down if you want to see it in detail. So all you do is add a little bit of pressure and draw shapes inside of the shapes that are already there for you because you ran it through that dotted plate. This one is supposed to look a bit like a snowflake. To me, once you emboss it, it looks more like a flower, but I think it can be used all year long for any kind of occasions. I use it often for First Communion cards when I want them to be elegant, but also to have a little bit of detail and to be more interesting. I am going to do it all around the whole entire pattern, and then I'm going to glue it to the back of my frame. This takes a few extra minutes, but it's so relaxing. You just let your mind go, you get in the zone. It's so nice to see how it looks at the end as well. It looks completely different from what this product was originally planned and intended for. And you're just giving new life, a new look to it. I love that. But I love vellum, so I guess I'm biased. As you can tell, I started with the easiest idea and then I'm going to the most complicated, I guess. It's not really complicated. I don't think it's difficult. It just takes more time because if you want to make loads of quick and easy cards, but also maybe you want to make an extra special card for a friend, or you just want to have some special time crafting and doing something that you look and you have the jaw dropping reaction at the end. Like, I did this. Oh, just look at this card. I made it. I don't know if you feel like that, but I do. I don't have kids, so my cards are in a way the kids that I'll show picture to. I'm like, oh, look at this. It's so cute. I did it myself. Okay, I'll stop it now, I promise. I'll pretend I'm normal. Okay? But I hope you do have fun like as much as I do. I really have a great time. I love crafting. I love making these cards. And like just look at that. Look at that. I wouldn't in a million years imagine that it could look like that. Just looking at the plate, you know. And maybe if you have never watched my videos before, you haven't seen this either. Okay, let's glue this together. Let's assemble the card. Now it's very easy. I'm gonna put some weight on it, give it some time to dry. I have this smaller cream colored cardstock and I'm gonna cut the same frame from it and I'm gonna cut it out of the front of a card base as well. I don't know if you'll be able to see well, but here on the left corner of your screen, you see me trying to align that frame with the cream panel on top, and I'm trying to just calculate the spacing so that panel, because it's smaller than my card front, I want it to be centered. I just did that so I could tape the die to the right spot and I cut it in the correct place. That way, once I glue that cream panel to my card front, it's going to be perfectly centered and it will be very well spaced. On top of the other parts, we will also need another vellum piece, and I'm just gonna grab a full sheet of vellum, and I'm gonna calculate the space that I need. I need it just to cover that window, and again, that's because I don't have an oval die that will cover that area, be slightly bigger, then I have to calculate it. I'm gonna cut it with scissors, add glue to the main oval area, but also to those small details on the inside, otherwise they're gonna be loose. And then I just need to lay that vellum on top, add glue again, add my cream panel. I realized that I put it a bit crooked and the vellum will be coming off the left bottom corner of the cream panel. So I'm going to lift it, cut it off, and then add some glue and hide that mistake that I made. So it's always easy to fix your mistakes if you notice in time. But I made a mistake because I didn't actually measure it before gluing it down, which I normally do. If you would like to see any more work with vellum like this one, please let me know. I'll be happy to make some more videos. I have a few already planned for the next couple of weeks, but I will be happy to include some more in the future. Now all we need to do is assemble everything together. I'm gonna add some glue to that frame. I'm adding glue only to the frame, not to the vellum, and I'm gonna place it, slot it right into the window that we die cut earlier. I am also gonna glue the cream frame that I had die cut. I didn't show it on screen, but when I die cut it from the cream panel at the front, I had a frame left, and I'm gonna glue that one on the inside just to finish it and make it look neat and tidy. And this is it. Now you can just decorate, add your sentiment, add your elements, whatever you want. As I said, I'm adding the tiniest poinsettias I've found and a sentiment that I created myself. And this is it. This is the whole card. If you're enjoying my videos, please consider subscribing. And I also have the links to the other videos of the series down below. These are the two cards already finished. I hope you like it. I hope you like these ideas. I love working with vellum. If you haven't done so, I do suggest that you give it a try. It looks stunning. It looks like nothing else. Have a lovely weekend and happy crafting. Thank you. Bye.